My name's Cara Louise. I'm back again to talk about the importance of encouraging children to read. The subject I want to talk about today is short books for children. When I first started writing fiction, I wrote quite a lot of short stories and shorter novellas. I thought at the time, I shall never get these published because nobody wants to publish short books for children. I didn't feel they felt into the format that was standard fiction at the time, i.e., a standard 20,000 word novel. But now things have changed, and we've got the internet, we've got ebooks, we've got Kindle, and we've also got a new form of technology where things are demanding and competing for children's attention all the time. There are so many other things that children can be doing aside from actually from reading books. For example, they could be scrolling down their phones on social media, phoning up their friends, playing on their PlayStation, watching TV, watching the latest video game. And there are so many children now who are being diagnosed with attention deficit disorder that anything we can do to kind of break up the time needed to do something is going to be a good thing. We all know about the importance of encouraging children to read. There have been so many studies done that show that children who are good at reading, that just bleeds over into whole other areas of their academic life, and they do better at school generally. I've already said in another video how I was an absolute avid reader, and I used to at breakfast hide behind the cornflakes packet and read every single thing that was on that cornflakes packet, the ingredients, where it was manufactured. It might seem a bit daft, but that kind of thing just encouraged me to read. I can always remember I used to sit in my bed, and at the end of the bed there was a bookshelf at the far end of the room with 2 or 3 layers of books on it. And I used to read things like Enid Blyton and The Secret of Spiggy Holes, The Famous Five stories, C.S. Lewis, Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and in fact anything I could get my hands on. And I used to look at those books from my comfortable bed and think, I'm so lucky I can pick up any one of those books off that shelf and I'm going to enter into a different world. And I used to feel really sorry for my mother because she didn't read. She was a ballet dancer. She used to read books on ballet and read women's magazines, but she didn't have the habit of novel reading that I had. And I used to think that was really sad because we all go through difficult times when maybe we're lonely, we're sad, things are going wrong, and the importance of just being able to pick up a book and lose yourself in a story can't be underestimated. So it's really important that we encourage our children to do that. And one of the things that we can do to encourage children to maybe stop fixating at their screen so much and go to a book, whether it's on Kindle or whether it's in hard copy, is by giving them short fiction, because it's not so daunting if you've got something in your hands which is short and divided up into manageable chunks. For example, on YouTube, we all know that YouTube is a wonderful medium, but I use it an awful lot, and sometimes I think, oh, that looks a really interesting podcast, but then I notice it's an hour long and I think I just can't afford to spend an hour watching this. But if something is 6 or 7 minutes, then I think, oh, right, okay, I've got the time to do that, great, let's watch it. And it's the same with a book. If you give a child a great big tome, especially if they're a bit of a reluctant reader or they've got other things to do, they've got their homework, they've got their friends, or they'd rather be out playing football, then just give them something short and which is divided into lots of short chapters. I've written quite a number of short books. The Guardian of the Goddess is one. The Lady of the Rock is another. Both of those have got male protagonists in. In The Lady of the Rock, it's about a young boy who can see things in his local landscape which other people can't. He goes to he sees a local cliff face on his way to school every day, and within the cliff face he can see 3 faces. There's a young beautiful maiden of the springtime. The middle picture is of a kind of mother goddess type figure who is represented by fruits and flowers, and the third face is autumn winter, the barren wintry face which is represented by a kind of hag figure. And the only other person who can see these figures within the landscape is an old man who kind of acts as a wise man figure, passing on information and ideas to the young boy. And when developers decide that they're going to use this cliff face as a quarry, and their equipment smashes into the figure of the lady, then it's only old Seth and the young boy who realise the havoc this is going to have on the landscape and the devastating repercussions it's going to have. I think it's really important that you have a boy as a main character in a lot of books, because there are so many books, there are so many children, so many boys that don't really have a kind of figure that they can identify with. So it's important that in a lot of books you do have this male child figure. The Guardian of the Goddess, the Guardian and the Goddess has a similar theme. It's about a young boy who is a loner. He likes to go in Haleford Park a lot, which is his local park, but it's a huge wild expanse. And he doesn't get on with other kids. He's been in trouble with the police. He feels the whole world's against him. But he's psychic, and he can see the figure of a ghostly monk who teaches him about the secrets of a spring which is hidden within the landscape. When the young boy's nemesis, the dastardly Kev, comes along with his gang and tries to trash the spring and the park, then with the help of the monk, Kev undergoes a lot of trials. He kind of becomes an Arthurian figure who is kind of saviour of the landscape, as it were. And this is very much divided into short chapters again. It's very much about getting children to look after the landscape, to see the secrets within their own landscape. So it's very useful to have a male role model, and to have a book which is a bite-sized chunk and divided into other bite-sized chunks. I've also got books for girls, where the girl is a main character. The Serpent of the Wood is for younger children, aged between anything from 7 upwards up to about 12. And it's all about Sally, who likes to go into Parkwood, and she contacts the local genus loci, the guardian spirit of the land, who is a serpent figure, who kind of slithers amongst all the dead leaves. And when developers decide that they're going to develop the site and turn it into a hypermarket, Sally musters all her friends to fight against the might of the developers. It's very much a positive book, which kind of shows the things that children can do to get in touch with the landscape, and on a physical level to fight against their own landscape, which is being destroyed. Annie and the Dragon is a similar book. This is slightly longer. Again, good 7-8-year-olds could read it, because it kind of is developed. It's written in short chunks. And also older children from about 8 till 12, which is the main kind of target audience. And Annie is very much in touch with her local landscape, when she kind of gets in touch with the spirit that dwells beneath her local hill. Then she again musters up the forces of her school children to bring the forces inherent of the landscape, which the ancient people of the past used to know about, to create a positive vibe for her local land. I think it's very important that we get across to kids this idea that maybe the people of the past had an affinity with nature and a respect for the earth and the planet, which we've largely lost, especially in these times of climate change and overdevelopment. I live in Devon, in a small village, and we've just lost the last of our fields, the one remaining field, to developers. It's just completely churned up. It's now a mass of mud and bulldozers. We don't have any rabbits in the village anymore because all of their habitat's been destroyed. So now more than ever, it's important that we encourage children who have this natural affinity with the landscape. And a child's eye vision of the world it might be innocent, but it's true. Children, I remember when I was a kid, there was a place called Shady Nook, which was beautiful, had a horse and just a beautiful natural site. That's all been turned into a housing development. And kids know naturally that it's wrong to trash the landscape, that we should be looking after the planet. And I think short books are an ideal way of doing this because it's not a massively long read. It's not something daunting. When I was a teenager, the fashion at the time was for reading Tolkien, and that is a huge tome. You give the average 11-year-old a book that length to read, and they're just going to yawn and use it to prop up their use as a goalpost probably. But you give them a small book, then they can look at it and think, oh, actually, that's not too bad. And if it's divided into small chapters, then they can just look at that and think, okay, I can read the next few pages. I do it myself. I read late at night, and sometimes I'm really tired and I want to get to the end of the chapter. And if there's about 10 pages to go, I think, oh, God, I just can't manage this. If there's only 2 or 3 pages, I think, oh, that's okay. I can get to the end of the chapter and then turn my light off. It's doable. So giving children short books and books which are divided up into small chapters is always going to be a good thing. So let's encourage them. The more we can encourage them to read, the better they'll do. As I said, I was an avid reader. I was obviously good at English, and that bleeds into other areas as well. I used to always get the top grades in French. I was good at history. Anything to do with words, it engendered in me a love of language, so I've gone on to learn other languages as well. I was absolutely hopeless at maths and hopeless at needlework and bottom of the class for cookery as well. But that didn't really matter to me because I was good at English and French and history and the ones which I thought were important. So the more we can encourage children to read, give them a short book which they can get on with, and just maybe encourage them to read one short chapter every night, and that's going to build into a habit, and that habit will last a lifetime. So if you want to know any more about my books, the short books which I've got for children, they're all on Amazon, either in Kindle or in hard copy form. The Guardian of the Goddess and the Lady of the Rock have boy characters. The Serpent of the Wood and Annie and the Dragon have female characters. And I've also got one for older readers aimed at 12 and above called Feng Shui in Babylon, about a boy who engages in substance abuse. But he contacts the kind of the genus loci, again the guardian figure of a young girl who looks after the landscape, a Chinese girl, and she teaches him about the importance of living in harmony with the land and looking for the spirit of the land beneath the harsh, barren streets of the city. And that's called Feng Shui in Babylon. So you can just check out them on Amazon, just check out Cara Louise and key in the title which you're interested in. And that's all for today. Thank you very much for listening.